Life begins with movement. Some physicians have said the only disease is congestion, that all other ailments are but an intensification of congestion. Congestion means overcrowding. When your lungs are congested, and you have difficulty getting enough air into them to breathe, it is not because there is any lack of air. There is just as much oxygen around you as there ever was. The trouble is that so much foreign matter has gotten into your lungs that the air cannot get in. They are no longer the clear, open channels that are needed to let in the oxygen to purify your blood. All experiments in the perpetuation of life have shown that two things are necessary: 1. Food for renewing and rebuilding the cells. 2. Open pores, open passages through which to absorb it. Dr. Carroll, in his experiments with the chicken heart, which he kept alive and growing for more than 30 years, and which seems able to live forever, showed that cleansing it of all impurities, and keeping its pores and passages open, is just as important as giving it proper nourishment. The cells cannot absorb that nourishment unless their pores and passages are open wide enough for its unobstructed passage. All the air in the world will do you no good if your lungs are so congested that you cannot take it in. All the food in the world will give you no nourishment if your arteries and passages are so stopped up that nothing can get through them. You must throw off the old before you can absorb the new. You cannot pour water into a vessel already full. You must clean out the refuse of waste and worn-out cells before you can hope for renewed life and strength and youthfulness. And the first place where these must be cleaned out is in your mind. When you invite God to heal you, you must make way for Him and for the fulfillment of His law of love and peace. You can't let griefs or grievances, worries or fears, bitter feelings or resentments clutter up the passages, and still hope to see God's life flow through. The ancients used to call anger or resentment a lump, and it is just that, for when it accumulates it is just like a great lump in the passages, effectively stopping the flow of life and good. What is blocking off your health, your happiness, your prosperity? Every good thing in the universe is all around you, as open to you as the air you breathe, as available to you as any radio program is to your radio receiver. The obstacles are all in you. Remove the negative thoughts, the fears, the resentments, and see how quickly the good will flow in. It is the old story that everything must be cured in your own mind first. All external conditions are but the outward manifestation of your inner thoughts. Good is all around you, like the air you breathe. There is no more of the energy of the universe available to John D. Rockefeller or Henry Ford than there is to you. They have kept more of their passages open, that is all. In an article in Nautilus magazine, Kate F. Byrne told of a mechanic who had been given up by physicians as incurable. Since they could no longer offer him hope, he decided to study his own case and see if there was anything he could do for himself. Being a mechanic, he naturally became interested in the methods the body used to nourish and renew its different organs. He learned about the white corpuscles and how they fought disease, and most important of all, how the mind could send a flow of blood to any part of the body on which its thought was concentrated. So he began consciously applying his thought to sending an extra flow of blood to the part of his body that was ailing. He ordered the white corpuscles in the blood to destroy the germs of disease and remove the waste matter from those parts. He commanded his subconscious to open wide the arteries to those affected parts and send to them every bit of help that was needed. Within 3 months, he had lost all fear of the incurable condition. Within a year, he was back at work, cured. When Kossuth was governor of Hungary, he suffered greatly from a serious malady that the doctors of his day seemed unable to relieve. Yet when any urgent need arose, he showed that he had within himself the power to overcome it. At times when I was nailed to my bed with sickness, he wrote, news would come from the army demanding all the strength of my activity, and I would say to my body, be well. And it would obey me. You have seen the big electric cranes that are used for picking up scrap iron and metals of different sorts. There is a great metal disc at the end of the rope, which can be magnetized or demagnetized at will. You drop the disc on a pile of scrap metal, turn on the current, and the disc picks up enormous quantities of the scrap. The crane carries it over to where you want the material dumped, you turn off the current and down plops the scrap iron. You can magnetize any organ in your body in much the same way. You can send your blood flowing to it, have it cleanse away every obstruction, have it carry to it every bit of vitality that is needed to make it perfect. Bless the divinity in the affected organ. Send an increased bloodstream coursing to it. Command the white corpuscles to destroy the germs of disease, cleanse away the waste, to renew and revitalize every part. Feel them doing it. Then rest serenely in the consciousness that you are being made well. Don't work on disease, work on life. Stimulate the life and the disease will vanish. Remember, sickness is not a thing in itself. It is the negative result of the lack of life or health. It is not something to be treated. It is like the darkness that disappears when you turn on the light. It is a waste of time to treat a condition. It is the cause you want to get at. In his teachings and addresses, Edward A. Kimball puts the whole idea so clearly that I quote it here. Suppose you have to treat an insane woman who believes she is covered with feathers. She says she has them. Would you treat her for the purpose of removing feathers? Are there any to deal with? Or would you know that you must abolish such a belief? Now then, suppose your patient says that his lungs are half gone. Do you work any more in the realm of decayed lungs than in the realm of feathers? Do you have such a bodily condition to deal with, or have you just abolished the belief in such a condition? Watch yourself. See that your treatments are not treatments for feathers. Do not treat fever any more than you would feather in an insane woman. No pain, no claim of pain, only the action of the mortal mind. Do not annihilate, but displace error with the right ideas. The true idea is always the Savior. If your image in the mirror showed a frowning face, you wouldn't try to rub off the frown. You would displace it with a smile. You don't have to fight sickness. All you need to do is to displace it with a healthy image of the affected organ. Do that, and the sickness will vanish itself. Go back to the primary cause, which is in your mind. Open wide the passages, clear them of doubts and fears and resentments, and let God's perfect image of you shine through. Let the universal energy all around you flow into and through you like you let the air flow into your lungs. Don't accumulate lumps of anger or resentment or fear or worry to cause sickness by blocking the passages to good. The greatest problem of the body, physicians tell us, is to get rid of waste. We grow old, we get sick and die, not because we wear out, but because our passages get clogged so we cannot take in new life. How are we to get rid of all the decomposed matter, all the worn-out cells, all the waste? How does a sanitary engineer do it for a great city? He doesn't boil it or strain it or put strong drugs into it to kill off the harmful germs. He doesn't worry about the negative elements. He bends all his energies to encouraging the positive ones. The pollution in sewage, says Dr. John Arthur Wilson, consists of bacteria and the soluble products of decomposition. The protozoa devour the bacteria and the polluting materials, and finally settle out with the sludge and become part of the resulting fertilizer. Through the introduction of oxygen, conditions are created favorable to the growth of the animal cells, and purification results. If the air supply is cut off, the animal cells succumb, the bacteria win, and the sewage becomes foul again. How is water purified before being turned into the mains of a great city? In the same way, by being sprayed into the air, thoroughly oxygenated, thus encouraging the growth of the protozoa and giving them the strength in numbers to devour any bacteria the water may contain. How is your body kept healthy? You breathe in millions of germs with every breath in a crowded street. If your nostrils and throat were examined this minute, it would probably be found that 1 billion germs were making these passages their playground. But why worry? There are probably 2 billion friendly germs making a meal of those bacteria, ridding you of poisons, and helping to keep your system clean and healthy. Encourage life, and the disease will vanish. Turn on the light and the darkness disappears. Keep your passages open, your mental ones even more than your physical, and let the good come in. Life is activity. Life is movement. Life is like a great stream that turns the wheels of every powerhouse along its banks. Its power lies in its movement. If it were still, it would generate no power. And the same is true of the powerhouses along its banks. If they do not let the water flow through them, they get no power. If they plug up their outlets, the water stops flowing in. It is only as they keep their passages open and let the water flow through that they get the benefit of its activity and power. What then is the answer? Isn't it that life is a continuous giving out of power? That the more we want, the more we must give? That just as we develop our muscles by using them, so must we develop vitality and riches and power of all kinds by giving out what we have? You remember the experience of Job in the olden days, how his afflictions increased despite all his prayers and lamentations, but how he was promptly cured when he prayed for his friends. The moment he started giving out, new and perfect life flowed into him. How can we use this principle to help ourselves and our friends and loved ones? First, by relaxing. Know that disease or accident or other misfortune is not something in itself that you have to fight. It is merely a lack of the right condition. So relax. Stop resisting. Stop closing up your mental and bodily passages. Instead, open them wide to life. Second, bless the good. Stimulate the life in you. Encourage it. Praise and bless it. Praise, brings the increase. Whatever is praised and blessed, multiplies. Use the power of praise and blessing to multiply the life in you. The Hebrews of old observed that a merry heart causeth good healing, but a broken spirit drieth up the bones. Third, open wide your passages by getting rid of everything that clogs them, mentally or physically. Get rid of your resentments by blessing all who have wronged you, and all you have ever wronged. Make way for life to flow into you. Rid your mind of anger and grief and worry and all resentments, and start the life flowing by giving out thoughts of love, helpfulness, joy, and thanksgiving. As long ago as ancient Greece, Plato wrote, if the head and the body are to be well, you must begin by curing the soul. The story is told of a woman who had gone to consult a physician. Looking around at all the pained and worried and miserable faces in his waiting room, the thought came to her, why do we sit here looking so miserable? Let's leap up into that other land where all is health and cheer. She went home and prayed, I am in your hands, Lord. I have burned all my bridges behind me. What will you have me do now, this very minute? And the answer that came to her was, rise and sing, we are all God's happy little children. Fourth, see in your mind's eye the perfect image of your body as you would have it be, and then believe that you have it. First the word, the mental image, you remember, then the creation. You can't have the perfect house without the perfect blueprint. See yourself as you would have yourself be, then pour all your life into that image. Bless that image. Salute the divinity in it. Pay no further attention to the disease or imperfect image you may now have. Give all your praise and blessing and thanksgiving to that new and perfect image. Fifth, start using that new and perfect image, no matter how small a scale you must make the start. Do as the man did who was paralyzed. He found he could use only one finger. So he started the mental image of his new self with that one finger and began using it just as much as he could. Before long, the fingers next to it began showing life. He used them. Soon the hand, the arm, the whole body responded to his determined urge for life, for activity. He had given all that he had made way for life, and new life flowed into and through him. When you want to help others, the same rules apply. Bless the life in them. Start with whatever good and perfect life they have and use that to make new life flow through them. Bless that perfect life, praise, and give thanks for it. See in your mind's eye the perfect image of them that God made, and send the current of your life into that perfect image through your faith, your earnest desire to help them. Remember when the woman with the emission of blood touched Jesus in the crowd and was healed. He said, virtue has gone out of me. Well, virtue or life must go out of you when you help others. You must give of your vital force your prayers and praise and blessing and thanksgiving. There must be an outpouring of your spiritual energy before you can put new life into the perfect image of the one you wish to help. That is why, as in the case of Job, prayer for others so often helps oneself. You have given out life so new life flows into you. You have opened the passages, so the stream flows more strongly through you. It is true that you cannot heal another. But it is also true that you don't have to. The only place you can help another to be healed is through your own mind. When you can see him as healed there, when you can picture him in your mind's eye as perfect and then get the serene feeling of relief and thankfulness that he is healed, you have done your part towards bringing about that healing. Now start the life flowing through that perfect image by going through the movements and activities yourself that a perfect body such as his should be doing, at the same time visualizing him doing the same things. There must always be someone to release power, someone with the understanding and faith to say, let this thing come to pass. If some friend is afflicted and seems unable to make the start himself, do you release the power for him, and thereby attain greater power for yourself? In his book After Everest, Dr. Howard Somerville tells of two patients whom he turned down as being incurable cases of malignant cancer. Both were completely cured when groups of people prayed for their recovery. Such cases have become so common that the Episcopal Church, some years ago, appointed a joint commission of leading medical men and clergymen to investigate and report upon the practicability of healing through prayer. Their report, signed among others by Dr. Charles H. Mayo, said that Christian healing has passed beyond the stage of experiment and its value cannot be questioned. Spiritual healing is no longer the hope of a few, but the belief and practice of a large and rapidly increasing number of persons. The New York American summed up their report in these words: it was the essence of the early Christian religion to save from sickness as well as sin. Christ's life is a long record of healing disease and raising from death. We have been calling his acts miracles. Now modern science and religion begin to suspect that he was demonstrating the operation of a principle that is eternal. Indeed, Christ told his disciples to go forth into the world and demonstrate this principle. He said, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth in me, the works that I do, shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do." More things are wrought by prayer than this world dreams of. Wherefore, let thy voice rise like a fountain for me night and day. For what are men better than sheep or goats that nourish a blind life within the brain, if knowing God, they lift not hands of prayer both for themselves and those who call them friends? For so the whole round earth is every way bound by gold chains about the feet of God. Exercise for Chapter 18. The first law of nature. There is one law of nature that was considered so important that it was repeated no less than 6 times in the very first chapter of the Bible, and is referred to in numerous places thereafter. That law is everything increases after its kind. Throughout all of nature, you will find no variations of this law. Take the mineral kingdom as a start. A group of cells shows cohesion or the ability to stick together. Why? Because all are of the same kind, the electronic life in them revolves at the same rate. In like manner, they possess the ability to repel any other kind of cell that might attempt to join the group, because the rate of motion in those other cells is different. In the vegetable kingdom, the process of selection is greater. Each group of cells attracts to itself from its immediate environment all those cells that are exactly like those forming that particular plant, and it repels all others. Thus tomatoes and potatoes and beans and a dozen other vegetables can all grow side by side, yet remain entirely separate and distinct in their organisms. No part of the potato will be attracted by or absorbed into the tomato, or vice versa. Each uses its selective properties to remain true to type. Like attracts like, it all goes back to the electrons and protons of which each individual cell, whether mineral, animal, or vegetable, is made. Everything in nature starts with this. A single electron is touched in just the right way to start it revolving on its axis. Its awakening affects other particles of a like nature, drawing them to it, setting them in motion likewise. Each electron is a small universe in itself, with revolving particles turning about a common center with the same motion, and at the same relative distances that the Earth and planets revolve around the Sun. It is in the rate of movement that variation occurs. Those groups that have a higher rate of movement produce higher forms of life. The moment that the rate of movement changes, form and color are changed, and in the case of complicated organisms like the human body, the change in the rate of movement of any part of the body may readily affect the harmony of the whole. With differences in rotation, the faster units have a tendency to break away from and throw off the slower. Something of this kind is going on in the body all the time. Older cells slow down, break away, and are thrown out. That is how a dog follows the scent of its master by the trail of old, discarded cells that he is continually throwing off. It is only when we fail to throw off the inharmonious cells that disease gets a foothold and we sicken or die. Remember this, starting with the individual cell, we attract to us only those elements that are identical in quality and character to ourselves and that are revolving at the same rate of speed. Our selective ability is such that we are able to pick such material as will preserve our quality and identity. This is true of our bodies, our circumstances, of our environment. Like attracts like. If we are not satisfied with ourselves as we are, if we want a healthier body, more attractive friends, greater riches and success, we must start at the core within ourselves. And that core lies in our thoughts. Thought can speed up or slow down the rate of motion of the whole body. Thought can retard certain organs, and thus cause inharmony throughout the whole body. Thoughts of anger, fear, worry, envy, hatred, or discouragement can create such inharmony as to bring about cancerous growths in the body as well as a disaster in one's affairs. You can cut out such growths with a surgeon's knife, and thus help the body organism to throw off the inharmonious elements, but an easier way, a better way, is to bring the body back into harmony, bring the entire organism into tune. In tune with the infinite. The first essential to put yourself in harmony with the infinite good about you is to relax, to take off the brakes. For what is worry or fear or discouragement but a brake on your thinking and on the proper functioning of your organs, a slowing down of your entire rate of activity? It is said that the devil once held a sale of all the tools of his trade. Everything was displayed: his keen-edged daggers of jealousy, his sledgehammer of anger, his bow of greed, his arrows of lust and covetousness, his weapons of vanity and fear and envy and pride. And under each was its price. But in the place of honor, framed and set apart from all the rest, was a small wedge, dented and marked with use. The name of this wedge was discouragement, and the price set upon it was higher than all the other tools combined. Ask the reason for this amazing difference. The devil explained it is because this is the one tool I can use when all others fail. Let me get that little wedge into a man's consciousness, and it opens the way for everything else. That wedge has opened more doors to me than all my other weapons combined. Few things will slow down your rate of activity as much as discouragement. Few offer greater resistance to the good that is trying to manifest through you. You remember Ohm's law in electricity? C equals E plus R. C is the amount of electrical energy to be delivered at the point of use. E is the amount available from the powerhouse. R represents the resistance offered by all the things through which the current must flow. If there were no resistance, the full amount of current generated by E would be delivered. But there is always some resistance. Even the best conductor offers a little, and you can't deliver current without a conductor. So the amount actually delivered depends upon the power available, divided by the resistance. All the energy of the universe is around you. You can have anything of good you desire. But it must first go through you, and you won't let it. You put up more resistance to good than all the non-conductors that ever interfered with an electrical circuit. You can't believe that good is so easily available. You feel that it can come to you only after a hard struggle, disappointments, and pain. You insist upon putting these non-conductors in its path. You add worries and fears and hates and envies so that by the time the good reaches you, its current is so weak that there is little left. Like attracts like. Hate brings hate and all the ills that follow in its wake. Envy and fear and worry attract discord and disease. If you want health and happiness in your life, if you are seeking riches and success, attune your thoughts to these. Bless the circumstances that surround you. Bless and praise those who come in contact with you. Bless even the difficulties you meet, for by blessing them, you can change them from discordant conditions to favorable ones. You can speed up their rate of activity to where they will bring you good instead of evil. It is only a lack of responsiveness to the good that produces the lacks in your life. Good works on the plane of expansion. Good revolves at a high rate of activity. You can key your activity to that same rate by an expectant, confident state of mind. You can bring all your surroundings and circumstances up to that same level by blessing them, praising the good in them. Remember, the basic magnet lies in your own thoughts. Upon the quality and activity of that magnet depend on the good or evil that will be drawn to you. You are the master of your fate. You are the architect who determines the materials that are to be used in making your life and your circumstances. You have the power of selectivity. Knowing that, can you afford to select any but the best for the circumstances and the surroundings that you must live in? What we all want to externalize is health instead of sickness, abundance instead of limitation, joy instead of inharmony. That being so, why not use our power of selection to attract these to us instead of their opposites? If your need is for health, take your thought completely away from the contemplation of symptoms and conditions. Think of your body as having the vigor and strength and vitality that it should. Hold to that thought in spite of every appearance, and you will presently find your rate of movement attuned to the point where it is drawing to you only health and vigor, throwing off everything unlike these. In the Gospel of St. Mark, you will find it written, "Nothing outside a man can defile him by entering him." And Emerson expressed the same thought when he wrote, "Nothing outside me has any power over me." The truth of these statements lies in our power of selection. Just as the very lowest forms of mineral life have the power to repel any other kind of cell that attempts to join their group, because of the difference in their rate of motion, so you, the highest form of life, have the power to throw off any condition or circumstance that tries to attach itself to you. For you have far greater power than the minerals. You have the power not merely to throw off those things that differ in their rate of motion from yours, but you can go farther. You can change your own rate of motion. You can speed it up or slow it down at will. And all without outside aid through the medium of your thoughts. You have seen marching men, so tired they could hardly lift their feet off the ground, change their weary shuffle to a vigorous, swinging stride when the band struck up a popular martial tune. You have seen hunters, dog-tired after a day of fruitless tramping, take on new energy instantly when the game suddenly sprang up before them. You have seen parents, ready to drop from exhaustion, forget all their tiredness when some loved child dropped in on them unexpectedly. But you don't need outside aid to speed up your rate of motion and throw off all the old men of the sea that have fastened themselves upon your shoulders. You can supply that speed up yourself. And the quick way, the sure way, is through confident affirmations. When you find yourself saying I am tired, or I am sick, deny it at once. Say, instead, no. I am is the name given to the God in me. I am strong, active, and refreshed. I am energy, I am strength, I am power. I am one with God. His strong, free, pure life is now active in and through every cell in my body. I am one with all the good in the universe. When you unify the rate of motion of your body with all that is good in the universe, you attract that good to you: health, happiness, riches, and love. But be sure to leave no obstructions between you and that good. Put no circuit breakers of hatred or resentment, no insulation of jealousy or envy, in its path. Say frequently, Dear Father, now I am one with all the good in the universe. I freely forgive any who have ever seemed to harm me, and I ask forgiveness of all I may have seemed to harm. Love attracts. Fear repels. Love draws the good to you. Fear acts as insulation that keeps all the good away from you. When you are sick, what has happened? Certain organs or parts of the body have slowed down in their rate of movement. Result? Inharmony. The different parts of the body are discordant, fighting against each other, and moving at different rates of speed. What is the remedy? First, relax. Just as a thoroughly relaxed man cannot be angry, so a body thoroughly relaxed in all its parts cannot fight against itself. So relax. Relieve the tension. Stop worrying about everything lovingly in the hands of the Father. Then start to speed up the ailing parts by blessing them, praising them, thanking God for them. Of an aching ear, for instance, you might say, Blessed is my ear, for it is strong and clear and I hear well. Then put it lovingly and unworriedly in the hands of the Father to bring it into tune with the rest of the body. If told that you are assailed by certain germs, just remember that there is only one power, and that is God good. There cannot be two powers, two rates of motion, in you. The stronger must throw off the weaker. So put all the power of your thought, of your beliefs, into good. Be like the gardener who, when asked what he did about weeds, said, Weeds. I never give them a thought. I just concentrate on the flowers. Claim the good. You believe, I am sure, that if Christ were here today, he could heal you of any ailment. Well, he is here in the spirit just as much as he was in the body 1900 years ago. And your belief in him can speed up your rate of motion and heal you of any infirmity today just as surely as it could then. Tell yourself and know I am together with God. Then let God do the work. Relax utterly and put your body entirely in his hands. Let its rate of movement be at one with his. When you can do that, you don't need to worry about disease or any other discordant condition. They will be thrown off of themselves. They simply can't remain in anybody that is at one with the rate of motion of God good. And by the same token, you will attract to yourself every element of good, for all of the good is attuned to the one rate of motion. It is like a radio where all the good programs are on one wavelength. You tune in on that wavelength, and you get everything of good. You dial the others, and you get all manner of evil. With such a choice as that, wouldn't you choose always to be tuned in on the good? Through me now flows the life stream, free, its cleansing waves roll. I enter the current and I am made whole.